you asked me, Johnathan, this year you can go out and you can kill one 150-inch deer with your recurve, or you can kill 3 does with your recurve this fall, what are you going to do? What do you think I'm going to do, Jacob?
Stack some bodies.
I'm about to kill 3 does.
Yeah.
All right, that's 3 more deer I get to put in the freezer. That's 3 more arrows I get the opportunity to disappear behind the vitals, hopefully. That's 3 more experiences in the woods. That's 3 more mornings that I get to watch the sun come up. So, to me, that's kind of how I value my hunting. And yes, I want to kill a big deer just like anybody does, and I'm going to strive to do that every season. But there are days when I go out, and I may be after a particular deer, and that doe walks up out there at 5 yards, and I'm on an old acorn or a hot dropping persimmon, and she gives me a perfect shot. I can't help it. I have no control.
Johnathan, man, we've been trying to line this up for a minute, dude. I'm glad to have you here in Alabama.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me. Yeah, it kind of worked out, so I think we're all getting ready for the expo, and yeah, just worked out. So
yeah, man, we're
glad to be here.
We were chasing you around Arkansas, couldn't quite line it up a couple weeks ago.
Man, we were busy last couple weeks, so
yeah,
it was pretty tough.
Yeah, because we planned it when we were up in Arkansas. I was like, "Hey, are you gonna be around?" You're like, "I think I'm gonna be in Michigan turkey hunting."
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh,
yeah." We did. I went up there with some buddies and had a great time up there. Turkeys didn't get killed up there, but we had a good time chasing them anyway. So
hey, sometimes it's like that sounds like the story of my turkey season, but man. No turkeys were harmed.
Sometimes you get the turkey, sometimes you are the turkey.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know,
That's
we
right.
ended up doing a little fishing, so caught some king salmon. That was an experience. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So middle of Lake Michigan, and so yeah, we come back with a little meat, but just not any turkey breast.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, man, we've had you on the podcast a couple times. I think the first time we had you on, I can't remember if it was right before or right after you killed your really, really big deer in Arkansas with the traditional bow.
The biggest buck, the 180?
Yeah.
Oh, he's been on multiple times before that.
Yeah. That's what I just said.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyways, it's been like 5 years. I don't know, 6 years.
So we had you on then. We've had you on a couple times since that. I think the last time we had you on was that big round table at the Mobile Hunters Expo a couple years ago. And since then, man, you've been doing all kinds of stuff. You killed a buck with a spear?
Yeah, so last year Arkansas introduced the spear as a legal weapon, and that was a pretty exciting experience for sure. So instead of normally going out with my bow the beginning of season, I tried to go out with a spear, and it took me about 3 or 4 weeks to finally make it happen, have everything work out just perfect. So, and it was fun. It was cool. It was obviously it got my adrenaline running pretty good, but it was more of a humbling experience, I guess, just to have a deer that close and to be, hunt one that primitive. It was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's always fun to talk to you because even though you're a younger guy, compared to a lot of guys we have on the show, your woodsmanship skills are just on point. Like you had a video one time, we talked about it on the show, but you put out a video of what do you call it? Where you were dropping a persimmon out of the tree.
Yeah, I call it cherry dropping, but you're basically dropping a persimmon out of the tree. Hunting pretty close to a persimmon, 20, 30 yards, and when the deer already know what they're coming into, but if you're in the tree and you rounded you a few up, drop a couple, and they think, oh, there it is, and a lot of times it may bring one in close for a shot. It doesn't always work, but it works. It works a lot. So I always, if I'm hunting persimmon tree, I always pick up 3 or 4, have them in my pocket just in case.
Yeah,
so it actually worked out pretty good last year on a doe. I killed a doe last year doing that right off the bat. So yeah, it's pretty cool. That
video is so entertaining because you drop it out of the tree, the persimmon, and and you turn the camera around and you see these does and they just start coming. It was pretty cool. So we're going to talk about all that and a bunch more, but Man, one thing I want to ask you about, which I don't remember if we ever got into this in any of the previous episodes we've done with you, because I think we might have just jumped straight into the tactics. But I'm curious about how you got to the point where you learned stuff like that, and you're hunting with a traditional bow a lot. So, I mean, how did you grow up when it comes to hunting? Was your dad a big bow hunter?
Yes, and I owe it all to my dad, honestly. I've got a brother who's my best friend now to this day, best hunting buddy. We're a year apart. And, when I grew up, it was just every weekend, we were going to deer camp or going hunting. And that's all I ever really knew. And I fell in love with it at a very young age, and it was all because of my dad. My dad was a big bow hunter. Now he loves just to crappie fish. You couldn't hardly pay him to go hunt now, but he's a big time crappie fisherman. So he likes to fish like I like to bow hunt now. But back to when I was growing up in Arkansas, we probably grew up like 90% of the guys in Arkansas grew up hunting. Started off with a rifle. I want to say I was probably 8 years old, when I killed my first little towhead with the little old 243 and open sights. And, ever since that first deer, I think it was instilled in me, and just that feeling, that's probably a hunt, one of my top all-time hunts. I've got a lot that I like to talk about, but, I can still see, that little old deer and making that shot on that deer and realizing that, I finally got one, and, that the excitement you get from that, it just never leaves you. And, that was a every weekend thing during hunting season. We just hunted. That's all I ever knew. And, I guess kind of escalated into bow hunting. I believe I started bow hunting when I was 14. And I think I've told you guys this before. Me and Josh used to mow yards when we were kids and worked up enough money to go buy our own bows. And I bought an old Hoyt MT Sport is what it was. We bought the same exact bows. And I can tell you to this day exactly what era I had. It was an old Easton Renegade. You guys probably don't even remember those aluminum arrows that they used to have, but it was an Easton Renegade with a 100 grain 3-blade muzzy. And I'll never forget my first deer with a bow. I had on my favorite pair of blue jeans at the time, a pair of white Nikes, and you guys remember the houndstooth t-shirts that everybody used to wear? Uh-huh. Had a bright yellow houndstooth t-shirt on. And I was in junior high at the time. I was 14, and so we played football on Thursday nights back then in junior high. Mm-hmm. So we left school that day on a Friday, went to camp, had a couple hours before dark, and I took off with one arrow, my bow, a release around my wrist, still in my school clothes, and run off behind the camp and sat up on an old lean-to. And I'll never forget it. Those woods have since been logged, but there was an old pin oak there, and two does come up right before dark. And I shot my first deer with the bow at like 15 yards, sitting on a aluminum chair, like a cafeteria chair on an old wooden lean-to. And that was my first deer with the bow and arrow. And I was so freaking excited that I literally ran as fast as I could all the way back to deer camp. And I'll never forget, I blew into the kitchen, opened the door, and my dad was sitting there cutting taters up on the cutting block, getting ready to fry fish too. And we went out that evening, and he found the deer for me, and ever since then I bow hunted ever since.
Man, I bet that was a proud dad moment for him. I bet he was fired up.
And I'll never forget, Josh was over there on the couch, and he was like, "No, you didn't shoot nothing. You didn't shoot anything." And man, it was pretty cool day.
What was your dad unusual back then, being a bow hunter? Like, did a lot of guys bow hunt, or was it kind of new?
That would have been when he was bow hunting was probably before that. And he actually was a traditional bow hunter. Matter of fact, I still shoot one of his old Bob Lees to this day. I've killed quite a few deer with his old Bob Lee. Killed my first recurve whitetail with his old Bob Lee recurve. So he had a group of buddies that bow hunted with him, but I wouldn't say it was obviously not near as popular as what it is today. But he was just as hardcore as what me and Josh would be today, hunting public land back then, and had a lot of success. And then, like I said, once he was the type of dad that he, on the weekends when he had time, he was taking us to the woods. And once he got us going, he kind of just went off into the fishing part and let us hunt on our own, and that's just kind of where it went from there.
What are some of the things that you picked up from your dad at an early age when you guys were just starting to kill your very first deer, just starting to get into bow hunting? What kind of woodsmanship did he teach you guys?
So we learned actually squirrel hunting. We used to squirrel hunt a lot in October, early October. And that's where he would actually, I won't name the WMA, but we would go out on the WMA close to where we're from, and we would squirrel hunt. And I'll never forget, he used to take us to all his bow hunting places. And he would show us trees that he used to hunt in. And he explained to us why he was hunting there. And that's kind of how we learned. That's where I learned, which it's beat to death now, the whole feed tree thing. But that's how I learned to hunt feed trees, because that's exactly what he was doing back in those days.
He wasn't afraid to go shoot squirrels around where he was deer hunting at?
No, we would squirrel hunt right there where he would deer hunt,
Interesting.
So
that's pretty cool.
But now, back in them days, I wouldn't say he probably didn't pay as much attention to, not blowing deer out and stuff like that as we do nowadays, And you're talking about back then, the ground or that particular WMA was hardly hunted at all, Nowadays, you can't find a WMA that's not just beat down with pressure,
Mm-hmm. One thing that's interesting about you and your brother is both of you guys are, I would definitely consider y'all like upper echelon deer hunters. I mean, y'all are really good at what you do. And, not to blow up your head or anything.
I think maybe the difference is I don't think it's necessarily that we're good at it. I think it's that we just love it so much. That's just, we spend all our time in the woods. And naturally, the more time you're out there, obviously the better opportunity you're going to have at maybe finding success. And, both of us, as a matter of fact, ever since I was that tall, basically every decision I've ever made has been around hunting, because I want to be able to hunt as much as I possibly can. And I'm going on 39 years old now, and I just don't ever see that changing. So whether it's a job or whatever, I have to be in the woods. That's kind of my thing. That kind of keeps me level-headed, and I can't wait for this fall to roll around and it happen again.
Yeah, we had a good conversation with Jeremy Aaron about that just the other day. He was talking about how most people, the time is the thing that holds them back, and they haven't set up their life in a way that allows them the time to go and hunt. Not only the time to go hunt, but go when the time is right also. Like we were talking about when we go to Iowa this year, we're going to try to time it with a cold front.
Right.
And be flexible around when we can go. And that's an interesting conversation. It doesn't get talked about a ton because, what we do for a living is we go out and we find really good deer hunters all across the southeast in the country. And guys like you are really hard to find. This is like all we do for years on end is try to find guys like yourself. And there's just not many guys, I'm going to say under the age of 50, that are as consistent on big deer as you and your brother, who we want to get on the podcast so bad.
Josh. Whatever it takes, brother. Yeah. We're going to make it happen, hopefully someday.
I was talking to Josh on the way over here. He's actually spraying, so he farms. He's spraying right now. They're wide open busy. But, yeah. I don't know if you'll ever have any luck getting him on the podcast, but I will say while we're sitting here, if you looked at all the deer I had and my brother, I don't even compare to Josh at all.
When we get off this podcast, we're going to have another conversation with you off camera about the best way to bribe him.
I think he might be the luckiest man on earth. I'm not sure. But, no, he's a heck of a deer hunter. And, last year, we both had a great season last year. I killed quite a few deer last year. He did. But we went on a public land hunt out of state. I won't say what state it was. We hunted out of state, public land. We both had success. I killed a nice deer that was nice for me, what I wanted. And we were hunting the same piece. And I believe Jack, Josh's youngest boy, got sick. So he had to leave a couple days early. And he called me up. This was a couple days after I killed my deer. And he said, "Man, you think I ought to go back up there?" And I was like, "Dude, I found the spot. like I found the spot. Like, if you can come back up here, you need to get back up here. 3 or 4 days later, he goes up. I think he hunted one morning, and I think he shot that deer that evening, found it the next morning, and he killed like 145-inch 8-point, like 19, 20 inches wide, just an awesome deer. And that's just a Josh story. Like, but he's the type of guy, and I tell people this all the time, and everybody that knows him knows this. He'll call me every morning, and hunting season or fishing, whatever, and he's like, yep, I'm going to go kill one this morning. I'm going to kill a big one this morning. He's just so optimistic, and I think that's kind of what separates him from a lot of my buddies that hunt hard. And everybody that watches this and sees me say this, they'll know that about him. I'm like, he'll tell you, I'm going to go kill one. And, sometimes he doesn't, but a lot of times he does.
What do you think it is about that optimism that?
I think it's confidence. I think it's just, I think that's a big thing, is confidence for sure. Today's hunters, I think, overthink a lot. I think they overanalyze so much. It does not have to be that hard. It does not have to be that hard. You go out, you give it the best you got. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But at the end of the day, and we kind of talked about this earlier, man, it's supposed to be fun. And, if it's not fun to you, you're probably not going to have very much success. And success is defined in the eye of the beholder. And, what I have a great hunt at the end of the day may not be a great hunt for you. So you need to find what that is for you. And when you find it, just keep doing it.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just going out and killing deer. I just love to kill deer. I've been fortunate. I've killed what most will consider big deer. But at the end of the day, and I tell people this all the time, if I had the choice today, if you asked me, Johnathan, this year you can go out and you can kill one 150-inch deer with your recurve, or you can kill 3 does with your recurve this fall, what are you going to do? What do you think I'm going to do, Jacob?
Stack some bodies.
I'm about to kill 3 does.
Yeah.
All right, that's 3 more deer I get to put in the freezer. That's 3 more arrows I get the opportunity to disappear behind the bottles, hopefully. That's 3 more experiences in the woods. That's 3 more mornings that I get to watch the sun come up. So, to me, that's kind of how I value my hunting. And yes, I want to kill a big deer just like anybody does, and I'm going to strive to do that every season. But there are days when I go out, and I may be after a particular deer, and that doe walks up out there at 5 yards, and I'm on an old acorn or a hot dropping persimmon, and she gives me a perfect shot. I can't help it. I have no control a lot of times, and I just love it. I love the whole process of it. And, I get ragged a lot. Like, man, I can't believe you're 1.5 miles back in there and you're going to have to quarter that doe up and pack her out and get her out. It's all fun to me, and it never gets old. And I don't think maybe a lot of people have that mindset, but for me, that's just kind of what keeps me going.
That's what I think makes you so relatable, and why a lot of our listeners and viewers really like you, because you're willing to say that and you mean it too. It's not like a show like, oh yeah, I don't care about shooting the 150. I want to rather shoot 3 does. But genuinely, you enjoy watching that arrow disappear behind the shoulder.
That's my favorite thing in the world.
And you talk about it, you get excited about it.
I love it.
And that's something I think you're a great person to kind of talk to about bringing the fun back into hunting. And it's not always about chasing antlers. Everybody loves shooting big deer if you get the opportunity.
Yeah.
But you've done that, and you'll still take the opportunity if you get it, but you still just enjoy the hunt itself no matter what it is.
Yep. And I think that's what people need to learn. Every experience is different. And man, you get to relive that. You get to wake up in the morning and, and memorize that. Every hunt's different. It should never be about, and don't get me wrong, if you want to make it about inches or 150s or 160s or 170s, that's fine. You have that right. But me personally, I don't look at hunting like that. And you just made the comment about the opportunity. I got a couple videos I'm putting out this fall that I've slacked on the last couple years. And I'm actually working on this hunt. I was actually working on it last night. And there's a hunt of me and my buddy Drew in Kansas. And Drew shoots a 170-inch Boone and Crockett deer about 5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, 4 minutes after I shoot what might be a 110-inch, 115-inch 3-year-old 7-point. And we were decoying deer, and I had this deer commit to the decoy while we have this booner out there at 100 yards. And you'll hear Drew say, "Are you going to shoot this deer?" He's committed coming in. And he said, he's not nowhere near as big as that one back there in the back. And you'll hear me say, and because I was listening to it last night, I said, I don't care. I'm going to take the opportunity I can get. And that 7-point come in there, ears laid back, bowed up like he was coming in to whoop me. And I whooped him. And you know, I loved it. And then 4 or 5 minutes later, Drew shoots a booner at 96 yards with his compound, you know, so we doubled up. That's a cool experience. Like, that doesn't happen every day. And it wasn't about the giant rack. I mean, it was just a cool experience. It was a cool hunt, you know.
If you want to get a head start on deer season, you can go out and you can actually scout feed trees in summer. This is something we've been talking about on the podcast quite a bit lately. Today I'm out here, I've got a pair of Vortex Viper HDs. This is a great pair of binoculars for this. And what we're doing is we're just looking up into these oak trees, looking to see if we can see the little acorn buds on the limbs. So as summer goes on, it's going to get easier and easier to see those buds as they get larger. A tip for that is when you're looking up in the tree, you want to find a limb that's daylighted. It's just nothing but daylight behind it. You're looking at an isolated limb, and you're just going to want to pick that thing apart with a good pair of binos like these that are clear. I like to use a trekking pole and actually brace the binos on the trekking pole and sit down underneath that tree and really look at it for a while. So if you want to get a head start scouting feed trees this summer, go get you a pair of Vortex binoculars. Head on over to eurooptic.com. Use the code Southern10 and it's going to get you a discount on these binoculars or any other optics that Vortex sells.
All right, guys, we got another in the field tip for you today. One thing we're doing right now while we're out here scouting is looking at overlooked spots and overlooked by us. One thing we always do while we're in the field is using our tracker on Onyx Hunt to be able to not only see where we've gone, but where we haven't been, and that's what we're going to go look at. So today, we're actually going to work up into a drainage that we haven't been to before. We've walked all around it, but we haven't been up in it. And again, it's a very important factor of using the tracker so you can see where you have been and where you haven't. A lot of times those places you haven't been is your overlooked spots. So if you want to try Onyx Hunt, you can download Onyx Hunt today and use the code Southern and save 20% on your membership. Hey guys, it's Jake. We got a quick tip for you in this podcast. One thing I've been working on over the last year is trying to figure out how to be less bulky really while saddle hunting and mobile whitetail hunting. And the biggest issue I always had was I really liked really large packs, and the problem was outside of certain points of the season, like when it got really cold, I never used the full capacity of some of those really big backpacks. One thing I started doing is using a smaller pack that has a lot more expandable capacity, so you can still pack a lot of stuff if you need to, but it's also very streamlined. It's super easy to go in and out of the woods with, especially during early season or just when you're not packing a lot of cold weather gear. This is the Latitude Ranger 22. I used this all last season, and I could pack a surprising amount of gear in that pack, specifically a bunch of cold weather gear, both bibs, jackets, extra layers, along with a platform, or when I was hybrid hunting with a small little lock-on, having a small lock-on on here as well, along with my sticks. And this backpack works really well with that. So if you're in the market for a new backpack and you're trying to streamline what you're doing, I'd really highly recommend looking at the Ranger 22 from Latitude Outdoors. And you can check out the Ranger 22 at latitudeoutdoors.com.
If you're enjoying this show, there's one place you need to be this August, and that is the Mobile Hunters Expo in Dalton, Georgia. We get a lot of questions about how do you find new hunting buddies, how do you find like-minded people who like to hunt the way that you do, who you can bounce ideas off of, go on trips with, whatever the case may be. The Mobile Hunters Expo is the place to do that. If you're wanting to go get connected with the community and meet like-minded individuals, the Mobile Hunters Expo is it. So not only are you going to get the chance to network around and meet other people in this space, but also all the mobile hunting gear is going to be there. If you've ever wanted to try any saddles, lock-ons, sticks, or any other kind of niche mobile hunting gear, this is the place to do it. You know, a lot of those companies are direct to consumer, so you can't just go to a store like a Bass Pro or anything like that and try these products out. This is going to be the place you can do it. So mark your calendars, August 8th through the 10th, Dalton, Georgia. We'll see you there.
This is such an interesting conversation about, again, keeping it fun, taking opportunities, and just not only getting good at killing deer, but if you enjoy the process and enjoy eating them. Mm-hmm. how much opportunity that we have, specifically in the Southeast. Like Arkansas, you have pretty liberal tags, and you get quite a few tags. Alabama, they just passed it this year. You can kill 2 does a day the whole season.
Yeah.
Which is insane now. It used to be like that, I think, quite a little while ago.
Yeah, back when I was a kid.
And $3, but like we get so much opportunity in the deep South in a lot of these states that if you want to eat a lot of meat, or you have family and friends that would like some meat that don't hunt, you have the opportunity, especially as a bow hunter, or even as a gun hunter, to go out there and have all that opportunity and make it fun. And this makes for interesting conversation, and I'd love to get your opinion on this because you have killed some really big deer. Is we've seen this quite a bit with buddies, past guests of the podcast, where they chase truly big deer for so long. You know, some people it might be decades, some people it might be a hard 5-year push. They achieve it, they kill a handful of them or quite a few, and then they get completely burnt out because if they can't chase a 170 or 160 or 150 inch deer in Alabama or 200 inch deer somewhere else, it's just not fun to them at that point.
Right.
It gets all about antlers.
And you guys know, you guys talk to so many people, and I'm fortunate. I've got a lot of buddies, and I've kind of got buddies in different categories. They all love to hunt. A lot of it's for different reasons. Some people may have better ground to hunt than others. Some are hunting public, some are hunting some pristine private. But you know the guy that he'll come up to you and he's like, yeah, I seen a 140 and I seen a 150. See, that guy, you can tell he's not in it for the same type of reason I'm in it for. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's totally fine, but there's just different mindsets. And I think when you look at social media and all this stuff and you see scores flying and the first thing somebody says is killed this booner or killed this 160 or whatever, it's just not that it's wrong, but it's just a different mindset, I think. And one thing I'll point out, we were talking about the traditional a little bit earlier. One thing that I've found out traditional hunting and hunting in the traditional community and being involved with it, you hardly ever find a traditional bow hunter that is solely into killing giant mature deer. Now, there are a few out there, and they're great at what they do, but that is not the norm in the traditional community because it's so hard to do, and it's just a little bit of a deeper, it just has a little bit more meaning, I think, than using today's modern technology, which makes it a little bit easier. And it's still not easy by any means, but when I kill a doe with my recurve, I just have a little bit different feeling of satisfaction versus if I would have done that with my compound. Now, in saying that, I was telling you earlier, I'm to the point now where, like I've said, it's supposed to be fun. I don't have a problem with anybody hunting any type of way they like to hunt as long as it's fun for them. And I was telling you earlier, we were talking about the old 243. The only deer rifle I own is a 243 that my dad bought me when I was 13 years old. And I might want to grab that thing out this fall and go shoot me an 8-point with it this fall. And I think that'll be fun. And that's what it's supposed to be about. So yeah, I don't know. I don't guess I'm kind of getting a little sidetracked, but
no, you're good. I was going to ask, have you ever had a moment chasing bigger deer where you kind of lost that way of you having fun, where you almost took it too serious, where it wasn't as enjoyable, or have you always been like this?
I think we take it serious. We take it serious, but it seems like I don't think I've ever taken it too far. It's always been fun for me. And you made the comment earlier about guys getting burned out. I've never once in my life even come close to being burned out, and I pray that I never do. I've never even had that remote feeling of being burned out, because I still to this day, even though I've killed quite a few deer, all different kinds of ways, public, private, when I see that doe coming through the woods, my heart gets a thumping still. And I pray I never lose that feeling. And if you don't have that feeling, I think you've got to figure out how to get that feeling. And, maybe it's put your rifle down, pick up a compound. Maybe it's put your compound down, pick up a recurve. I don't know. Or maybe you're the type of guy that you just want 150 plus inch deer, and good luck to you.
Yeah, that's a good point that Jacob made earlier too about people getting burned out, because we see it specifically down here in the South. Guys will get a certain number in their head of like this. It kind of happened to me a little bit over these last 2 seasons, where I'm like, I kind of had a buck in my head that like a caliber deer that I wanted to shoot. And the reality is that deer just doesn't exist in most places down here. Or they do exist, but they're really, really, really few and far between. And I was getting hammers on camera, especially for down here. And I would be like, And then I'm like, what am I doing? I've never killed a deer even close to this one,
Right.
but I'm trying to put something on it in my head.
One thing that I noticed that guys don't talk about is it's all relevant to where you're at, and I'll do this too. I mean, if I'm in Arkansas in places that I've hunted my entire life or know, that I know like the back of my hand, we have a long season in Arkansas. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we can hunt from October to February. So usually in Arkansas, I will try to wait on a deer that I want to kill. And some people may say mature deer, big deer. I just wait to see if I see one that I really want to kill. And, but then I may go out of state and I may only have a week. And, if I'm hunting with my recurve, my opportunities are very slim. So, I'm probably not going to go focus on just a big mature deer. If that opportunity presents itself, I'm probably going to take it. Not always, but if the mood strikes me right, then I'll take it. Last year we went to an out of state public land hunt, and I had a nice deer come through chasing a doe, and I just went into what I call kill mode. Like, I don't even think. It's like, here he comes, I want him. And, made a perfect shot, watched him go down. Awesome, man. Successful hunt. Was he a 150? Absolutely not. I have no idea how big he was. He was, basket rack 8-point. And, you would have thought I shot a 200-inch deer. I was ecstatic. I mean, that's, for me, that's, it's just always fun, man. And I think if you can't get that feeling, I think you got to find it somehow. However you got to do it.
Yeah, and to tie this all back in with the earlier conversation, you were saying that you don't feel like you necessarily are that different from other deer hunters out there, but you just love it more. Will you talk about what that does for you in the woods? Like, if you have a passion for it and you keep it fun and you keep wanting to go out there and you're not burned out and you're real hungry for it, like that's kind of one of the keys to why you're so successful, because you are going to wake up when you're supposed to. You are going to access the way that you're supposed to. You are going to practice shooting your bow. Am I on track there? What do you think?
Yeah, I believe so. And it's almost, I don't get burned out, but it's almost to the point too that I have to say this, and this is not, if you made the comment of you are going to get up on time in the morning. If I sleep in one morning, man, I almost feel like I cheated myself. Like, I could have been in the tree that morning. Something could have happened. So, but that's just kind of my mindset. But no, absolutely. And I think it all ties back to confidence too. The more you're out there, the more you're having fun, the more confidence you get. And with anything, whether it's Chinese tap dancing, if you're confident in it, you're going to do better. It doesn't matter what it is. So you got to learn how to build that. And that's kind of comes back to the traditional hunting. I get asked a lot, well, how do you go from the compound to traditional? Because it's tough and it's scary. And you're sitting up in a tree with a stick and you're like, there's no way in heck I'm about to kill anything if you're new to it. But then once you do it a couple times, you realize, hey, I can do this. And then the next thing you know, you're consecutively, killing deer every year. It may not be big deer. You may not be in a big deer place. But, man, if you're out, you're scouting, you find a hot spot, you set up, you get a deer within 15 yards, you put a perfect shot on him, you watch him go down, you got meat in your freezer, dude, you're supposed to be happy. That's what it's about.
Yeah, the confidence thing, like the only way you can build confidence is just going out there and doing it and screwing up and being like, well, why didn't that work?
And you're going to screw up a lot. I've screwed up so much, still to this day. I mean, you're going to mess up. That's hunting. There is no perfect scenario for anything. I mean, you are going to mess up.
Do you have any like good lessons learned from just different mistakes stuff in the past? Maybe kind of getting more built, like as you were building more confidence with your archery equipment, maybe like in your late teens, early 20s and stuff. Was there any like hard lessons learned that would be relative for anyone new getting into archery or traditional?
I wish I had my buddy here to talk about this. He's OCD with his archery tech, with shooting all the time, every day. You know, making sure your bow's precisely tuned. Like, I would say for guys getting into it, don't feed so much into that. Make sure you're out there getting comfortable with your bow, having fun shooting. Get in good muscle memory before you dive off into am I shooting a 212.3 grains on the front end of my arrow, or am I shooting 100? Like, don't get so far off into that it gets that it gets real messy and you don't know which way to go. Just get close, get out there, have fun, and practice. And I keep saying it, but you gotta have fun, or you're going to go down the wrong path.
Also, one thing I've kind of wanted to pick your brain about even more so with the setups, getting deer in close, and all this sorts of stuff with traditional archery. One thing that we hear from a lot of Arkansas guys, and it's the same thing through a lot of states in the South, especially in the bow season, the wind swirls so much. It's rough early season, especially those light variable condition days. All the leaves are still in the trees early bow season. It just seems to swirl. Is there anything that you've looked for in the past from a setup standpoint that kind of gives you a little bit more straight line wind or anything like that for early season bow hunting, or you just kind of deal with it?
No, there's absolutely no secret to the wind. I think I've told you this before. You're going to listen to some people, and they have these wild, strategic, crazy, I don't even know how to begin to see how they have the time to go through these scent regimen processes. And some of these guys are killing big deer, so it works for them, and you can't, if they're killing big deer consecutive, then they're doing these strenuous scent protocols, as so to speak. That's great. I absolutely do nothing, and I never will, because I'm not taking the time to do all that. I try to play the wind. You hear it a million times. That's all I can do. Is it going to swirl on me in the tree? Absolutely, it's going to swirl. Well, guess what? You may not see no deer that day. They're probably going to smell you. Do you get down? Maybe. Do I get down? Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. But as far as the scent and the thermals and trying to figure out, yes, you can play the thermals and the wind the best you can, but you still have or in my opinion, you don't have 100% control over that. So you just have to make do the best you can. And I probably just kind of put that to the back of my mind a lot. And that's probably why, I have successful hunts, but I go out and don't see deer, and I'm probably getting winded. But, I hear people say all the time when they go through these crazy scent protocols that, man, I never get winded. I never get busted anymore. Well, how did he know that he didn't have a deer skirt him 200 yards behind him and didn't smell him? How do you know that? You don't, and you never will. So the scent deal, I'm not that guy. I'm just going hunting. I'm gonna pay attention to the weather. I'm gonna check the wind all the time. I always, and when I was driving through Alabama, it's hard to, I would assume it's hard to find an exact bedding spot in Alabama. All right, that's how Arkansas is. Mm-hmm. So I find a spot where I think they're bedding, and I'm paying attention to the wind and trying to put it all together the best I can, but it's never 100%. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't.
Yeah, I had a guy actually reach out to us from our website 2 or 3 days ago, and he was messaging me from Mississippi, and he was asking about finding buck beds and everything like that. which we went way down that rabbit hole a couple years ago, and
What?
it just never worked. I was like, man, I'd kind of just forget about that
Right.
down here, and I would just find you a good pine thicket and just know that he's probably in there somewhere.
Yep.
You know,
I've had people ask me about the buck beds, and yes, you're walking through the woods every now and then. You'll see where a deer bedded. Do I know what particular buck that was? Absolutely not. You just know it's a deer laid there. Now you get into the Midwest. I've hunted some up there, and I have found beds before and have pretty good hunts around them. But in the South where it's thick, man. Maybe some guys can do it. I can't tell you exactly where I think this big deer's bedding every day.
if you were going to try to put your finger on it, talking about traveling and out of state, like you've had a bunch of success in Arkansas, but you've also killed deer other places as well. Some places that are similar to Arkansas, some places that are way different than Arkansas. What is it that allows you to go travel and get on deer, no matter if you're hunting in Kansas, Arkansas, Illinois, or wherever else you've hunted?
Yep. I think it just goes back to your basic skills you learn as a hunter. And I'm used to, and this is how I was taught hunting. This is how I was raised up hunting, squirrel hunting. We covered ground and we scouted. So I'll talk a little bit about a hunt last year out of state, public land, totally different from Arkansas. Arkansas is flat where I hunt. Where we were at last year, it was rolling, big rolling hills. I called them mountains. All right. So I've got two buddies now that I've met through hunting, and we're pretty close, and they're great hunters, and they taught me a lot last year about terrain features in what I call the mountains, big hills. These guys they're the exact opposite of the way I grew up hunting. I grew up hunting covering ground, and that's still what I do when I go out of state. That's just all I know. These guys can look at an onX map and look at the terrain features and drop a pin and say, I'm going to go right here and I'm probably going to see some deer tomorrow. And that just is wild to me because I feel like I need to put in the time scouting and go check it out myself, put my eyes on it, So just being with them, I've learned, how to read terrain features pretty good on a map, rolling hills and stuff, and kind of pick spots out where I want to go and still tie in me wanting to cover a 5, 6, 7 mile loop, scouting and, actually putting my eyes on sign. And, these are the guys that they don't really pay attention to the sign. They're just hunting strictly terrain features. Me personally, I still like to have a scrape close by, or so, just a little bit confidence booster for me is kind of still to this day what I like to do. I like to know that deer have been there, or they may come back, or there's old sign there or something that's proven to me that deer are liking this area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, out of all the guys we've interviewed who hunt river bottom stuff like yourself, hunting big, vast expanses of hardwood timber, flat as a pancake, maybe a little bit of water, maybe there's not water. We used to ask a lot of them, be like, what do you look for on a map? And pretty much all of them were like, no. I look for where the public
I know
land
that's
is.
funny. Me and my buddies from up north, we sat down one night and they taught me, they were like, look, right here. And this is where you need to go look. Or this is where you need to go hunt. So I pulled up onX map, pulled up a big W made down south. I said, all right, you pick a spot right here where you're going to go. And they're like, they're looking for the topography lines, and there is none. It's nothing. Like, yeah.
They're like, is the topo map on?
Try that pin drop right there, buddy, and see what happens, So you just have to cover ground in the south.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And when it comes to, your upbringing, squirrel hunting and everything, what would you say are just the fundamentals of when you're going out? Let's say that you're in a brand new place, never been there before. What are you going out and covering ground and looking for?
I think it depends on the time of year for sure. I mean, whether we're talking early season, rut, early season, and it's just the way I was brought up. It's, kind of beating a dead horse's feed trees. That's first thing I'm going out looking for. Now, if it's the rut, I'm trying to find maybe a funnel area, pinch point, something like that when deer are chasing, and just try to condense them down. And then me being a traditional hunter, I'm even looking for even tighter spots. And, what may work for somebody that can shoot 40, 50 yards may not work for me because, I'm trying to get my deer within, I like to have them within 15 yards if I can. So sometimes, and for me, the downside traditional hunting is I may find a great spot, but, there may not be a tree there for me to set up, or it may not be a perfect spot for me to get that deer, within 15, 20 yards, which, that's what makes it tough, and it's supposed to be tough.
I can't remember from talking to you previous episodes, but are you like real big on buck sign? Like you're trying to find like fresh rubs, fresh scrapes, or anything like that? Or are you more of like a track kind of guy?
I wouldn't say I'm big on it, but I do like to see it. It does make me feel better if I know there's some big rubs in the area or if there's scrapes in the area. I do like to see that. But me being an opportunity hunter, if I'm seeing a beat down trail somewhere fresh, obviously I'm probably keying in on that more than I am the old rubs or the old scrapes or something like that,
Yeah, that makes sense. By the way, when did you make the switch over to traditional archery, and why did you make the switch?
So I swapped over. I killed my first traditional deer in 2010, and that season I had a good season that year. I'd killed in Arkansas. You can kill 2 bucks in Arkansas, and I'd killed my 2 bucks in November with the compound, and I had a couple does left to kill. And told you guys this before. I'll never forget. I went home to visit my folks for Christmas, and Dad had his old Bob Lee hanging up in the closet, and I walked in there and I thought, man, I'd like to try to kill me a deer with this recurve, and pulled it down. And I'll never forget. I carried it to an archery shop up in Whitehall, and brought it in there, and then had no clue what I was looking for arrow-wise or anything. And the guy's like, man, I think you're supposed to shoot full-length arrows with that recurve. Sounds good to me, man. Give me some full-length arrows. So he gave me some gold tip 55, 75s, and I bought a 125 grain Stinger 2-blade, not knowing anything. Just this is what I'm going to use. And went out and practiced a couple days, and, 10, 15 yards, I was able to, put it in the kill spot, and within a few days, I'd killed my first doe with the recurve over an old nut tree, and man, ever since then, it was something I'm dearly passionate about now, and I just don't ever see myself swapping back unless I'm injured or something. I don't have anything against the compound. And matter of fact, I was talking to some buddies yesterday, going out west elk hunting. I've tried with my recurve, and man, it's been kicking my butt. So I'm not opposed to going out now with my compound if I have to, or borrow a compound, or even going out west this year to Kansas. I drew a Kansas tag this year. I might borrow a compound and go out there and deer hunt some. But at the end of the day, yes, my trad bows, I love it, and I can't wait to go out and try to get a doe with the recurve or longbow this year.
So, compound rifle, compound bow, traditional bow, spear.
Yeah,
Let's talk about the spear.
the spear. So I was telling you guys earlier, Arkansas introduced the spear as a legal weapon last year, and I got to give my good buddy Jason James credit on helping me build my own spear. So Jason, we were sitting back there in the shop one day, and he had a couple different things he was looking at to use as the shaft. And I looked over in the corner, and there was a piece of rebar over there. And I was like, why don't we use a rebar? And he was like, I can make that happen. So we got the rebar and took a handle off an old seed treater we had, just a piece of flat steel. And Jason ended up making a blade out of that thing about 9 inches long and got it razor sharp, welded it to the rebar. And it wasn't perfectly, I don't know if you guys are familiar with rebar. It's not perfectly straight as an arrow, but with that, close proximity, it was perfectly fine to use for 5 yards out, and just the sheer weight of that spear, I didn't have to throw it. You could basically just guide these ones we made because they were so heavy. I mean, you're going to get full penetration. But yeah, so I was able to kill One decent buck and one doe last year with the spear. And I'll say this: it was in Arkansas. You were allowed to bait in Arkansas, and I tried to do it a couple times naturally over a persimmon tree. I had got close a couple times, just never could get one quite within range. So I did use bait to get them right directly under me in order for me to get them close enough to make a spear throw on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, bait or no bait, that's impressive.
Did you ever weigh with the spear? Because I saw the videos and stuff you were posting about building the spear. Mm-hmm. Did y'all ever weigh it?
We never weighed it, but if I had to guess, I'd say the ones we made are probably total weight, I would say 4 pounds, 4 to 5 pounds. They're pretty heavy. Mm-hmm. They're pretty heavy. And, it was fun. It really was. But at the end of the day, I'd still rather have my bow and arrow in my hand. It's just more natural to me.
For sure. But I'm curious this on the whole spear hunting conversation, because I think when some people think of spear hunting, they think you're lobbing a spear like a javelin on the ground. And this is more so like what Tim Knight does, or not Tim Knight,
Tim Wales.
Tim Wales, God, not Tim Knight and Georgia. Sorry, Tim. So, Tim Wales kind of does, gets up high and drops that spear down on top of them. But how did you practice for that?
Yeah, so I've got a spot. First time I practiced, and Jason was with me after we built the spears, and we were trying them out. We went over to the camp, and I've got a walkway that's probably 12, 13 feet off the ground, and that's where I started. And just put a block down there, just, your archery block, and, try to hit the circle. And you'd be amazed. I mean, it didn't take long to get pretty accurate with it, because you're just straight, you're straight above them. So you're just straight down. And it took me, I'd say, a week. I was pretty dang salty with it, and out to about 5-6 yards. And the buck I killed, he come in perfect, got directly under me. And I'll tell you, I was having a problem with him winding me, because even though I'm baiting, there's a deer coming in to bait. He wants to circle around downwind, and I was using just regular corn, and then I swapped to a product. It's actually called Racket Track, which I actually work for the company that produces it now. Mm-hmm. But it's got roasted soybeans in it. It's got a real potent smell, and it was kind of covering my scent up just a little bit, I think, just to keep them comfortable enough to stay in there tight. And the buck come in perfect. I hit him just a little back, hit him back toward the liver. And you'd be amazed, he actually carried that spear probably 160, 170 yards before it come out of him. And then he went another, I'd say 50, 60 yards before he expired. Actually found him, he made it to the lake, actually made it, when I was crossing the lake coming out that night, he was floating in the lake when I found him. The doe I killed was about 5 yards, so I made a great throw on her right behind the shoulder. And you guys will get to see it. I had, if you watched any of Tim Wells' videos with the GoPros and stuff on the spear, so I had it all GoPros on the spears and all that. So I'm working on those videos, getting those out this fall, so they're pretty interesting.
That's so wild.
What's the blood trail like? Oh, specifically with the doe, like a well placed shot. What's the blood trail look like, and how far did she go?
So, from the moment of impact, and I timed this because I have my camera running, from the moment of impact on the doe, and I hit her perfect right behind the shoulder, she was totally expired within, I think, 18 seconds. Totally gone. The blood trail was, you can't even imagine what it was like on that doe. Now, the buck, me hitting him a little back, the blood trail wasn't as great as what was on the doe, but I didn't have any problem tracking him.
Yeah. Okay, this is interesting. What's the blade width on the spears y'all were
The
making?
first spear that I killed the buck with was 2 1/4, I believe, 2.5, and then we kind of upgraded after that. And Jason decided he wanted to go bigger and better, so we went to like an 11-inch blade, and it was a little over 3 inches wide on the one I killed the doe with. Yeah, so all you FOC guys, no problem.
So that's one thing I was wondering about, because I'm like, you get a deer that close, you're going to have to go through some bone, I'm guessing. I mean, because you can't hit them too
Just
low.
the sheer weight of that spear alone, there is nothing stopping it.
Yeah.
And now these are homemade, so these aren't like the ones, Tim Wells makes an awesome spear, but the ones that I made, or let me say Jason made, were 3, 4, 5 times heavier than the ones that he makes. And I kind of call them a tree spear because they're designed to, you're up above and you're just kind of guiding, and that sheer weight alone, there's nothing stopping it.
Are you going to try some pigs? Did you ever try pigs last
I
year?
actually had, when I was telling you guys I was trying it naturally over some persimmon trees, I had a hog almost me to your foot, and he, at the last second, he caught my scent. And I was just about to put it through him. So I did have a couple close encounters with hogs, but never got them.
I was curious about that too, the winding. It sounds like that's probably not something you could really do in the evening because your thermals will start falling down.
Yeah, it's super tough. And like I say, it took me, I really thought it was going to be a little easier than what it was just because using bait, but just them coming in downwind, trying to wind you and all, and man, it was tough. It really was.
Man, that's pretty crazy though.
But see, I think Alabama had some kind of museum for spear hunting down around Mobile or Orange.
So I
Beach,
think Alabama used to be.
Yeah.
You used to could spear in Alabama. Now I think is it illegal?
Yeah,
now?
it's illegal.
Well, it happened in a bunch of states a couple of years ago. There's a big controversy around it, like a bear hunting video that someone put out, and it went viral for all the wrong reasons. And then right when that happened, 4 or 5 states banned it, just like that.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, I think Alaska and now Arkansas, I think, are the only 2 states in the country that you can. I think Nebraska has some kind of weird stipulation there, but I think Arkansas and Alaska are the only 2 states that you can legally use a spear now.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I remember driving by. I don't know if it was like the National Spear Hunting Organization. I don't know, some kind of organization, but they had a spear hunting museum going down to Orange Beach, it was like in Foley or like one of these small towns, kind of south, close to the coast, where you could drive by and see it. And now it's like I don't think it's even there anymore. But I remember driving by and seeing it. And it was like taxidermy in there. There's like a giant spear made on the front of the front of the building.
That's interesting.
But
Are you going to try to do it over like a natural feed tree?
So my ultimate goal is, or this is just my opinion, I think ultimate would be to try to spear a deer on public land in a natural setting. I think that would be ultimate. Now, can that be done? I think it can be done. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort. Do I want to put that amount of time into that? No, I don't. I'm just totally fine with my longbow or recurve in my hand. Now I will dabble into the spear some more this fall, but if you're asking if I'm gonna go full-fledged spear hunter, absolutely not. No.
When you said that, the first thing I pictured was pulling up to the gate on public ground, and you're getting out of your truck, getting all your stuff ready, and then here's Johnathan getting out of the truck with a spear, and you're just like,
yeah,
what are you doing?
And last year in Arkansas, to my knowledge, I believe there were 4 bucks killed and a few does killed with a spear last year in Arkansas. I would guess they were probably all killed over bait. To my knowledge, I don't think nobody's killed one on public land yet with a spear. So if you're out there, if you're that hardcore, if you want to be the first guy to kill a public land whitetail in Arkansas with a spear, that it's still there to be done.
See, the spot I was thinking of, like a setup, almost would be like a beaver dam crossing a big slough where you got feet on one side and a thick, like willow thicket on the other, and somehow set up where you're above that beaver dam they're crossing on.
Yeah. I've got a couple spots this fall actually in mind already that they'll be great setups. But we'll just have to see if the honey locust produced or not. So
the one other question on the spear, just because I find it so fascinating. I don't really care to even attempt it because of the difficulty. I'll be 100% honest. Did you have a sheath or anything on it? Because I just feel like that's so dangerous to be like try and get up, like pull it up in the tree, that sucker falls over and cut your leg.
You ever seen the old red shop towels that guys use to grease your eggs? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I took a piece of duct tape and wrapped that around, and that was my sheath. Nothing high tech by any means.
Okay.
Yeah, that happened to. Speaking of Tim Wells, that happened to him one time.
Yeah,
he speared himself one time.
Stuck him.
And I'll say this about Tim. Tim was a great help in getting that done in Arkansas. He come down and gave a presentation to the Game and Fish, and had a couple other guys in Arkansas that were really wanting to get it done, and so he had a big help in getting all that coming into fruition. So, yeah, man, it's a great opportunity. If anybody's listening and wants to come to Arkansas, you do have the opportunity to hunt with a spear.
Man, that's crazy.
I want to get you to tell a story specifically on your first. I don't want to say just a big buck, but like one of your first bigger bucks on public land, when you had that opportunity, you were able to kill them. What deer was it, and what was like what progressed up to that point for you to get an opportunity?
Oh, first buck on public land?
First good buck, what?
Okay. All right, so I think the first one that comes to mind would be a WMA that I hunt a lot. People see me on it all the time. I had a buddy with me, and we were hunting some. If I say what we were hunting, people are going to know that.
Give us a different example.
We were hunting acorns.
Okay, food source.
But I'll tell you what, we were hunting sawtooth acorns, in all honesty. So you guys probably know sawtooths aren't native, so they were brought in. So they're pretty easy to pick out where they're at. But this place is hunted so hard now I don't even step foot in there. But me and a buddy were hunting these sawtooths, and we were probably, 60, 70 yards apart, and a nice 7-point come in between us, and he just, this is in my younger days too, so I was probably, high school, college. Timmy was over there 60, 70 yards, and for whatever reason, that deer decided to come to the tree I was set up on, and man, 15 steps right there, I was still back in my compound days. I think that was probably the first decent deer that I killed on public land. And, me and him drug that deer out together, and another guy actually was in there hunting not too far from us. We all three drug him out, and, I think about that hunt all the time. Was he a giant deer? No, but it was a great deer, public land, and, yeah, so that was probably my first one that sticks out in my mind anyway.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. That's, my first public land bow deer, and it was my first public land buck. It was right after I met Andrew. I'd hunt public for a couple seasons, shot a couple does, but I hadn't shot a buck yet. And I had me, him, and was it just Chris, my brother? Was Thomas with us?
No, I think it was Thomas.
Thomas?
Yeah, he was like 12 or something at the time.
I drug
He was just a little fella.
Yeah, he's 24 now. Something. Anyways, but we were all out there hunting and kind of all went to different kind of spots out there. And I had I think it was a 5-point?
Yeah.
6-point, something like that. Little deer. He come right by and I shot that deer. I was so thrilled. I was like, I can't believe I just killed my first buck on public land, man. This is awesome.
I remember we went back in there to get it and we couldn't find it for a second.
Oh,
it went back to the spot.
Well, yeah, it went like no. I think I might have been a different. Oh yeah, maybe when I walked out, because he only went like 30, 40 yards. Shot with big mechanical, quarter tube, blood everywhere. Ran like 30, 40 yards and just lay down. And we went back in there. We got all turned around with the maps because we're like, I didn't even have Onyx. I think it was like Bing Maps or something I was using, like on my phone or something like that. Yeah. And dude, I couldn't figure out where I was when we came back out looking back for it. And it shot in the morning, but yeah, that was fun.
Johnathan, I wanted to ask about, you mentioned a couple times a lot of these places that you hunt in Arkansas that you've hunted for a long time now, they're way higher pressure than they used to be. Mm-hmm. Does that change anything about your approach? I mean, you've always been a guy like you're burning the boot leather and you're just going to find hot sign. Does the pressure change that?
The thing I'll say about the pressure is that nowadays with Onyx, all the information out there, you're not going to get away from people. People are going deeper now. People are not scared like they used to be. That you can't get lost nowadays. Unless your phone goes dead, you're not going to get lost. You're going to run into the river or road or something. So I love Onyx and I hate Onyx all at the same time because it's just made it real easy for people to access, which I don't hate Onyx at all. I love it. I use it every day. But so now I'm still covering ground like always, but now you'd be surprised you don't, you hear guys harp on deep. I'm going somewhere nobody's going. I'm going 4 or 5 miles in. You might can just go 200-300 yards from the truck now, where guys are overlooking some stuff, walking past some stuff. So I look at that now too. But still to this day, I really haven't changed anything on my scouting practices or anything like that. The pressure is just something that you have to deal with. And if you're going to hunt public land, whether you like it or not, you're going to deal with it. And honestly, a lot of people can't. I mean, you hear people all the time, man, if I have to go hunt public land, I'm not dealing with that. You're going to deal with it if you're going to hunt public land. Mm-hmm. And that's in any state now. I don't care where you go. It's just, there's so much information out there. People are talking. We're talking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just part of the game. That's just where we're at nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are losing access to land that they've been able to hunt for 20 years, and the public's the only thing they got.
That's right. And it's happening every day now. Mm-hmm. So, that's just where we're at in these times.
Yeah, we got two questions in the last week about that, about people losing property that they had for a long time, whether it be permission or a club that got sold or bought out, or where the price got too high on the club. That's a real common one now.
Yep.
And so they're moving over to public, and kind of like, it's funny, man, when we first started the podcast, one time we interviewed I think he's the former director now, I think he just left, but Chuck Sykes here in Alabama, and we were talking about the stigma around public land, and how it's like dangerous or whatever. And Jacob and I had been hunting public since we were like pretty young, and I never felt like it was real dangerous or scary or anything like that. And I asked Chuck, I'm like, well, how do you like break that stigma? Like, why do people think it's so dangerous? He's like, well, it's just a generational thing. Like, it's going to change over a long time. And I feel like it changed over a really short time. And that's a good point about all the mapping and everything these days. Like, you're not going to get lost. You know exactly where the property boundaries are now. Because when I first started hunting, I remember I looked at the WMA map.
Paper map. Which didn't have imagery on it or anything. It's just like a parcel map. And then I looked at Google Maps, and I was trying to figure out where the property lines were based on timber lines and everything. And I printed out on a piece of paper the Google map of where I was hunting. And then I got a Sharpie, and I drew where I thought the property lines were. And then I took the piece of paper out in the woods, and that's what I was hunting off of.
Yeah.
And then Onyx came out, and I didn't do that anymore.
It's changed so much. I mean, a couple of these places, we could go in and hunt places we've hunted for years, and you wouldn't see anybody. You have your spots, that we've hunted years. And now, especially on one of the places we hunt, and I still hunt to this day, there is not a single tree on that entire place that somebody hasn't walked by or looked at. So now it's part of the game where you have to play off your pressure too. So you're kind of, not only are you scouting, you're looking for deer sign, now you're trying to read hunting pressure and how you have to adapt to that. So really, you can use that to your favor, especially during the rut. Using fine funnels, pinch points where guys are coming in the morning, coming out in the evening. And still to this day, you would think people would plant their butts in the stand longer and sit longer, but still to this day, you don't see a lot of people daylight to dark hunting. And, 3 of my probably biggest 5 deer I've ever killed in my life, I killed between 12 and 1 o'clock. So, that's another thing. I really love to hunt middle of the day. I freaking love it. I killed a deer last year, December 7th. Shot him, I don't know the exact time, but it was anywhere from 12:10 to 12:20, somewhere between 12:10 and 12:20. Killed the biggest deer of my life at 12:30 in the evening. People don't like when I said that, in the evening, but yeah. So the middle of the day, pack a sandwich.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's exactly where I was about to go with it. And we've had like a pretty general conversation so far, but I do want to go kind of deep on this subject. We just had a listener write in a Q&A about midday hunting. He said that with his job, he typically gets to hunt during the week, and he typically gets to hunt midday hours, 10 to 2. And he was asking about best practices, setups for that kind of scenario. And I knew that you'd killed some of your bigger deer during that window. So I'm just curious on your thoughts on setting up midday. Do you set up any differently than if you're setting up at daylight? Different kinds of areas? What's it look like?
No, I mean, in all honesty, I think it's, obviously I've killed most of my deer in the morning, in the evening, your prime movements. But, for me, especially during the rut too, if it's, if you're in a spot and you're seeing consistent deer activity, man, I love sitting all day. And I don't think I would set up necessarily any different because probably, and I would say most people that kill deer midday are probably killing them during the rut when they're up on their feet. They're looking, maybe he's lost a doe. He's looking for another one. That's exactly what happened to me last year. I watched this deer from 500-600 yards away with a doe, and I got lucky. He lost her, and I was set up on the north side of a thicket, and I was set up. There's a trail that ran parallel with that thicket, and I was hoping a deer would come cruising with that south wind that day, checking that thicket. Well, it just so happened the deer I was watching, the deer I was after, he lost his doe somewhere around 10:30, and he happened to come up that trail, and I was sitting there, and he come up the trail at, like I said, anywhere from between 12:10 to 12:20. I don't know what the exact time was, but it was between 12:10 and 12:20 when I shot him. But so I think just having the patience to sit it out sometimes can pay off, and it definitely can. It's paid off for me a lot. So,
do you think that when you're setting up midday, that's a rut example, but let's talk about outside of the rut. Mm-hmm. If you're going to set up and hunt midday, do you feel like you've got to be right on top of bedding, not a bed, but just bedding cover?
I don't think you have to. You never know when that deer may want to go grab a bite midday. Prime example, the biggest deer I ever killed in my life. I was tight to cover where I thought he was bedding, but I was hunting, the nearest acorn tree to where I thought he was bedding, and he come in there at 12:30 to check that tree for a few acorns and got an arrow put through him. So, I would think you might be a little better off the tighter you are to cover, because he may be potentially leaving it or he may be going to it. So, midday. But I think what you might run into, you brought up, do you want to change setups? I think if you're in an area, especially if you're on a deer and you're doing too much moving around, you may hurt yourself more than help yourself if you just stay put.
Right. So setting up basically in the same spot you always would, because you just never know when they're going to come out.
That's right.
Okay, that makes sense. And then during the rut, like just kind of self-explanatory, like hunting a terrain funnel, or like you were hunting a trail, like you were mentioning, where you killed that one buck where he just came cruising down that trail. Is there anything else that you kind of focus on during the rut outside of trails and feed trees?
It's pretty simple. I mean, there's really nothing else. It's during the rut, like I said earlier, it's funnels and pinch points is really what I'm looking for. Because if you're a bow hunter, and that's another thing I guess we can talk about. Like I said, success is in the eye of the beholder. Do you want to see a bunch of deer, or do you want to try to kill a deer? So, as a bow hunter, me being a traditional bow hunter, yes, I want to see a lot of deer, but I know a lot of times if I'm going to a spot where I can see 200-300 yards to see a lot of deer, that necessarily doesn't mean I'm going to kill one. So I'm going to have to find that tighter spot where it's thicker maybe, and I'm not able to see as many deer, but it's going to give me a better opportunity to actually kill a deer, if that makes any sense to you.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
What were you?
I was just kind of thinking about plucking a string, him talking about that. The that whole midday thing conversation is interesting because, again, you've killed some big deer, like, again, your biggest buck, which, remind me again, what was the official score on that deer? 12:30 deer.
He was 186 and some change.
186. Coming to feed on a feature.
I killed him on a nut-all acorn tree.
Okay. So this has come up, I know in one episode, two episodes, some guys.
Now I'll say this, on that particular deer you said coming to feed, he checked that tree to see if there were a few acorns on the ground, and then you can actually watch him in the video. He kind of moved and he comes to me. So he was moving. He was going to go back to the south of me, but there was more trees to the south. He went up to that one tree. There wasn't nothing there, so he's like, oh, I'm going over to these other ones, and I just happened to be at that one there.
Well, you've killed quite a few big deer in and around feed trees, okay? We've had a couple of people talk about in the past that, like, it's not like a consistent pattern where you can consistently kill big deer on feed trees. Mm-hmm. How often, if you had to analyze over the years, like whatever you classify as a good deer, okay, how often season over season would you get an opportunity at a good shooter buck on a feed tree?
I mean, in all honesty, I'm going to have, usually, I have at least an opportunity or two every year.
Okay.
Whether I make it count or not, maybe not. Whether I get the shot off or not, but usually I'm having an opportunity at a deer within bow range. Now, me using the recurve of the longbow, obviously I don't get to kill all these deer I see. If I had if I was a rifle hunter, a compound hunter, could shoot 40, 50 yards, I think, I'd probably have a few more deer under my belt. But usually every year I'm getting an opportunity or two at a deer on the feed tree.
Well, the reason I bring it up because there's some people say that it's not a good strategy if you're trying to kill mature bucks is feed trees. Some guys outside of Arkansas specific. Arkansas guys will argue parts that they're dead.
Well, like I say, those guys they're probably not wrong, but it's just relative to where you're at. It's just relative to where you're at.
Exactly, but for your area, you can be extremely successful finding and killing mature bucks. Like again, a guy a compound shooter. You
got to look at it like this. I mean, if you're an experienced bow hunter in my area, you're hunting the same way I'm hunting. That's just a fact. Everybody's doing it. I'm here talking to you guys, but there's 5,000 people out there doing the same thing, and they're killing deer. Mm-hmm. But you got to think when you're hunting a feed tree, you're not just you might not know of a big deer in the area that you're wanting to kill, but what is that feed tree doing? It's bringing in does, bringing in other deer, there's activity going on around there, so a deer may come in and check it out. So there's a lot that goes into it. But I'm not changing my hunting strategy up. It's worked for me in the past. So, hunting feed trees, it works. It works. Are you going to kill one every time? No. But it absolutely works.
And I just want to bring it because, again, some people think it's not possible. But, again, you and a bunch of guys that we've interviewed, specifically from Arkansas, show that it is very possible to kill mature bucks consistently in and around feed trees. Mm-hmm. One last thing. What do you have? What are you excited about? Anything new going on this year?
Wait. I have one more question. I just totally cut you off.
Oh, dang.
One more question on the feed tree thing. In your travels, we talked about hill country earlier. You've gone to different places and hunted. Have you found success on feed trees in hill country before?
It's tougher. Like I say, it's relative. Matter of fact, we were in hill country last year. The deer I ended up killing last year was within 20 yards of some acorns, but he come through trailing the doe. So, depending on where you're at, like when I'm going to Kansas, I'm not looking for feed trees. And I got a Kansas tag this year. I'm not going out there looking for persimmons or acorns or water oaks or honey locusts, So, like I say, guys, it's relative to where you're at on the whole feed tree thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think that with the hill country thing, do you think that this is just like kind of a debate that you hear is people will say it just doesn't work in hill country? I
think it's probably because in hill country they're probably more abundant. You might have giant, up in the Ouachita's in Arkansas, it's just every tree's an acorn tree. So the more you have, obviously the tougher it is.
Is it not like that in the bottoms?
It is. But you can in the bottoms, especially a lot of the areas I hunt, you might have a select cut in there, or you might have a tornado went through and blew a bunch down, and you find the thick areas, and you do have trees that are just produced better than others, and the deer favor them over others. Why they pick that particular tree, I don't know the science behind it, but the sign is obvious. They like this tree better than that tree, so where am I going to set up? Probably this tree.
Yeah, I always just wonder, because I've found some really tore up feed trees in hill country before. I'm like, it seems like it would work, but it just sucks having to eat every hill on that place trying to find one. It's easier to walk on that flat ground and do 8 miles than it is in hill country.
Yeah, obviously it's super. We're blessed where I'm from. It's flat as a pancake. I don't have to fight any hills. So, if you're walking, and I drove through North Alabama coming here yesterday. Yeah, if I had to walk 10 miles through there, yeah, it's going to be tough on you.
Yeah, no good. All right, sorry, cut you off. Get back to your question.
I want to know, you were telling us before we get on the podcast, so you drew Kansas, but you also drew another kind of coveted hunt that I'd love just to touch on real quick.
Yeah.
Because, again, I've never met someone who actually got to go hunt there.
Yeah.
So
me and a buddy drew the McAllister ammunition hunt this year. And like I was telling you, I don't know a whole lot about it. I've talked to some people that have hunted it in the past, and we're kind of getting our game plan together. But yeah, real excited about hunting that. Like I say, it's a, for the most part, you got to get lucky. You get to hunt 2.5 days, I think. I think you get a half a day of scouting, and then you get to hunt for 2.5 days. So definitely trying to do as much homework as I can and talking to guys. And I've talked to a lot of guys that have been a really big help on telling me where they've hunted in the past and where they've seen deer. But we kind of already have a plan together a little bit that may be a little bit outside the box. So we'll see how it goes down. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, and see, you told us that before we got started, and it's funny because it just came up when we interviewed Dr. Steve Ditchkoff from Auburn University. I don't know, the episode came out like 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, and he was talking about like it is by like McAllister Ammunition Plant Facility, however the property's named, anyways, is the best deer herd in the country, huntable population in the country for quality and numbers. Mm-hmm. He's like, it's unmatched for a public use, property against a draw property. And they have an interesting stipulation. It's traditional archery only, correct?
That's right. Yeah, it's trad only.
Oh, I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's traditional bow only.
What?
That's why they got giants.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, and if you look at the success rate, it's not that great because everybody's out there with a recurve. And what you run into, from what I've researched, I think there's a lot of guys that may be from the Oklahoma area that probably don't practice with their recurves very much, but they all try to get the hunt because it's obviously a really good place to be. So you've probably got a lot of guys out there that probably aren't real proficient with their shooting, so yeah, I mean it's still tough. It's going to be tough.
That would be me if I drew that tag.
Yeah, well, that's still me to this day. I mean,
yeah, I mean it's one of those things like Dr. Ditchkoff was talking about. They had collared so many different bucks in that place, and one of them, I think he said when they trapped it or caught it, whatever, put a collar on it, it was like 165, 170 inches, and it lived 2 more years. It was 6.5 years old when they caught it. And he said the second, third year, he kept getting bigger. And he's like, last year, I don't know if he was 185, 195. I don't know. He was huge. We never put our hands back on him until the collar came off.
Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of guys, and they've seen some giant deer there. And I hope I see a big deer, but I also feel sorry for that 120-inch 8-point that may walk by me at 10 yards too.
Yeah, it's gonna be that'd be such a cool spot. So yeah, I'm glad you told us that because I'm like, man, that is gonna be a cool hunt. Never met somebody who did that. Also, one thing we haven't touched on, and I do want to bring it back up, your Arkansas elk hunt.
Yeah,
dude, we haven't even talked about that. Like,
yeah, that was a couple years ago. I mean, you talk about a really awesome and unique experience. That was a heck of a hunt. Yeah, that was 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And my goal was to try to kill an Arkansas elk with my trad bow, so I wasn't going to be picky. And man, I'll be honest with you, that first day we went up 3 or 4 days before the season and scouted, and I think we laid eyes on 2 elk. It rained. Oh man, it was crazy rain for 3 or 4 days. We were in a camper. I mean, tents. It was an experience, but it finally turned pretty. And the first day, we just, like we know how to hunt, we just covered ground. Man, we never seen an elk all day long. And like an hour left into the last night, we drove over to another ridge and we spotted some couple ridges over, and we decided we would start there the next morning. So we did, and we got in there the next morning. And on this hunt, you can use a rifle, a bow, whatever you want. But I was really wanting to try to get one with my bow. So we topped the ridge the next morning, and man, they were right there at 100 yards. The same bull we'd seen the night before. And we tried to make a loop on them and tried to call them in like you would see out west, and they weren't having that game. So we blew them out of there, and we kind of scouted that knoll after all that, and I found a big beat out trail where they were coming up into this meadow up top. So we just kind of pulled out the whitetail tactics, and me and a buddy got up in the tree with our saddles, and we were hoping that maybe that the big bull we'd seen with the cows would come back out that evening. And a couple hours before dark, I looked down the mountain down there, and there's a cow horn spike elk. And he was down there feeding, and all of a sudden he turns and he just starts walking straight toward us. And the guy that had above me, and he filmed all this, and he was like, "Man, are you gonna shoot that spike elk?" And I think for a split second I might have thought I wasn't gonna do it, and then of course instinct took over, and that spike elk decided to exit that trail that I was set up on, and I shot that elk about 4 yards with my recurve. And Arkansas elk, man, it was cool.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's it.
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
So, and I think I tried maybe 15 years to draw that tag, and finally got lucky and got the tag. So, matter of fact, just a couple days ago, I opened my email. I did not get drawn this year, so I was unsuccessful.
Was it not once in a lifetime where like you can't put?
No,
back
you
in?
can. I personally know 2 guys that have drawn the tag more than once.
Wow.
So it is not a once in a lifetime tag. You can draw it again.
I knew a kid back in high school. I was up there. He drew, killed a nice bull, and then I had another guy that I knew from there. But later on in college, he drew and killed one. So you're the only third person I've ever met who ever did that hunt, which is cool. Cause
Yeah, it was cool.
It's like 20 tags or something. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's not many. And we drew the public area. There's a couple different public areas that you can draw. In the area that I drew, there were 2 bull tags and I think 3 cow tags. And I had one of the either sex tags. The other guy that had the bull tag, he killed a nice bull with his rifle. And the other guys that had the cow tag, I think everybody, maybe one didn't, but I think everybody filled their tag. It's definitely not like a Western elk hunt, but it's an awesome experience. And man, I hope I get to go back one day, or at least I hope I have a buddy that draws a tag to kind of help out with the hunt. So you can bring a couple people with you to help out with the hunt. So yeah, man, that was a cool experience. Matter of fact, I killed that elk on Halloween night, and it was cold, and it was awesome. And prior to that hunt, we were talking about defining success in your hunting. Man, one of the best days I ever had bow hunting in Arkansas was a week prior to this hunt. I went up there to scout, and I brought all my bow hunt stuff, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to hunt these mountains a little bit, see if I can kill a mountain buck, because I've never done that in Arkansas. I've never killed a mountain buck in Arkansas. So I scouted all day, mainly for elk, but then I found just a couple acorns that were getting hammered, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to saddle up right here this evening. And that evening, within 5 minutes, I had a small, probably 2.5-year-old 8-point chase a doe right by, and I was really trying to kill him. I really wanted to kill him, but I just could not get a shot off on him. And as soon as they disappear, a bear come down the ridge to my left and come down, and it's bear season, and he skirted me just out of range, probably 40, 50 yards. I mean, just a big old bear, just out of range. And while I'm watching that bear go off, all of a sudden the elk at the top of the mountain just starts bugling his head off.
Oh.
All this within 5 minutes in Arkansas. So I was like, this is unreal. I mean, and I still replay that hunt over and over today. So, you know, it's hunts like that. I didn't kill nothing that day, but man, it was fun. It was awesome. And that's kind of what I look for every year. Just something, an experience like that, you know?
Man, that is so cool. Arkansas is a great state, man.
Yeah, Arkansas. I love Arkansas.
It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
If you're a hunter, Arkansas is great. You got great duck hunting, great deer hunting. You got bear hunting. You have the opportunity at elk, and you're right smack in the middle of everything.
Then you can
drive
run down there
west.
in South Arkansas and kill an alligator. So you got it all.
Yeah, and it's an easy drive to Kansas compared to where we're at right now, or
good fishing next to Missouri. You go down Mississippi and go hunt your turkeys down there.
hop, skip, and a jump from the Gulf, man. Go catch
it's
the trout.
It's a great
redfish.
state. Great state to live. I'm for sure dead certain I will never. Don't think I'll ever leave Arkansas for sure.
That's awesome, man. I have one last question, and this is just for me. Last year, we went to Louisiana and interviewed Mr. Warren Womack. It was a great interview. We had so much fun with him. He spoke very highly of you.
Mr. Warren is, and I've told him this a lot. He is by far one of my. I don't idolize anybody, but if I had to pick somebody, it would be somebody like Mr. Warren, and I've told him that. because it's his passion for it. Mr. Warren's what, 80 something years old,
82, maybe
and
83.
he is as still passionate about it as a guy that's just getting into hunting. And I've spent some time with Mr. Warren down at his place, and man, yes, he's my favorite. And he's so proud of every deer he's killed. You go to his place, and he's got, I don't know how many
It's
bucks
a
he
lot.
had. I mean, buck after buck after buck. But you would see 4-point spikes, nice bucks. But he was extremely proud of every single one of his deer. Didn't matter if he killed it with a rifle. Didn't matter if he killed it with a compound. Didn't matter. Mr. Warren's an extremely accomplished traditional bow hunter. Didn't matter to him. You know why? Because he loved it and it's fun to him. And he's 80-something years old. The man's still working out. He's still climbing trees. And that, when I looked at him, that's kind of where I want. I hope I'm doing that when I'm 80-something years old.
Yeah.
And he's a real one. And yeah, I need to call Mr. Warren now that you said that.
Yeah, man, he's awesome. I mean, yeah, and he's taking great care of himself, and he's still climbing trees in his 80s. And I mean, you hang around him. I mean, he's got some guns, man.
Oh,
like his
man,
arms are. I'm like, you're 80 and you got some biceps,
I wouldn't
man.
mess with him at all.
Dude, he's
He
awesome.
can shoot, man. I went down there with him and shot, and man, he can shoot. He can shoot lights out. Hell,
Well, so about that, we were looking around his little hunting room where he's got all his bows and everything. And he's got that Acacia wood bow with all the tick marks on it. He's killed so many deer with. It's the one he's shooting right now. And he was letting me hold it. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, this bow is so cool. It's just like a sleek, nice looking little long bow. It's got
Long
I don't know.
recurve.
Is it a recurve?
I think it's a recurve.
Yeah, it's a recurve. He's got all the little tick marks on it, all the deer he's killed. And I was telling him my grandfather had a Bear Kodiak Magnum recurve that I don't think he ever killed anything with it, but he shot it. And I was never allowed to touch it when I was a little kid. Like, literally wasn't allowed to touch it. Well, when I inherited it, I'm like, I'd like to kill something with this one day. I got a new string for it. I shot it from time to time, but I was never real consistent with it. And I was telling Warren that, and he's like, well, you want to go shoot this one? I'm like, yeah. So we went out to his shed, and man, in 5 minutes, we videoed it. In 5 minutes, he got me, like, I don't know, something clicked. And I started hitting decent. So I went home, got my bow, started shooting it, and I practiced with it a ton last year. I never quite got to the point where I wanted to take it out and hunt with it. I felt like I was proficient to like 10 yards where I was like real confident. But this year, I want to get back in it. I dusted off the other day, started shooting again, and I really want to go shoot something with that bow. Kind of don't care what it is. And I was going to ask you, what is just some advice you'd have for somebody like me who's kind of, I'm not probably going to go like full traditional anytime soon or anything, but I do want to take it out and start building confidence with it.
Yep.
So what kind of advice do you have?
Keep it super simple. I'm sure you probably got you some areas and stuff picked out now, and get out in the yard, 10, 15 yards max, and just shoot you some arrows. Get you a pie plate up there. Put 5 or 6 in the pie plate. A lot of guys, you're purists, they're going to tell you you don't need to go hunting till you can put 3 or 4 arrows like that. You get 3 or 4 arrows in that pie plate, and you're confident you're doing that pretty consistently. You're building your confidence whether you realize it or not. You're ready to go hunting. And then you already know how to hunt. You find your setup, and when it happens, you're gonna fall off the deep end. I promise you. When it happens,
Dude, something weird about bow hunting for me, and we'll wrap up here in a minute, but it's just weird. This might generate some comments, but people talk about with bow hunting, they'll be like, I was told so many times growing up, because we grew up gun hunting, man, once you kill one with a bow, you're never going to want to do anything else. And then I killed one with a bow, and I was like, that was cool. And then I killed a couple more, and it's still the bow hunting part. I like bow hunting, but it's just never like grabbed me like people said it would. But I think it would be different with a recurve bow, just because it's, I don't know, there's just something about it.
Well, I think it definitely has its. I think anybody that finds success with it in their own eyes falls in love. They fall in love with it. But at the end of the day, I can tell by talking to you, you just love to hunt. So it doesn't matter what weapon you have in your hand. And see, that's how I feel. I love my trad bows, and there's a special feeling when I can figure out how to kill a deer and get myself in such close quarters to one, and I'm lucky enough to kill him. But I think me and you may have something in common is where, like I was telling Jacob earlier, the only deer rifle I own, man, I might want to pull that thing out of the closet this year and go try to slip hunt or something and kill one with my 243, and because I think it'd be fun. I hadn't done it in a long time, and at the end of the day, I think we've said this 1,000 times now, man. You got to keep it fun, or you're probably hunting for the wrong reason,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, man, if I kill one with a recurve this year, you and Warren are the first two people I'm texting.
Please send me a picture. But yeah, Mr. Warren, and I know you guys got to see the journals and all that, and man, that's amazing that he's been able to keep up with that for so many years, and he actually inspired me to do that with your old notes on your iPhone. So sometimes I'll sit in the tree and I'll just kind of do a note. I'm not as great about it every day, but matter of fact, I was looking at it the other day, and it is pretty neat just to go back, just to say on a random Wednesday, middle October, and saw 4 does, got winded, missed one or something. I mean, it's cool to go back, and it's amazing how you can read 3 or 4 notes and all that whole hunt will come back to you.
Man, I think Warren ought to go through his journals and publish some of it, make a book. Fredbear did that. There's a book you can buy. It's called The Adventures of Fredbear or something like that, and it's his journal entries from certain hunts. I don't think he kept a journal like Warren does, but if he went to a Dall sheep hunt or something, he would keep a journal of it. And someone compiled a bunch of those hunts and put it in a book, and I read that in high school. And man, it was cool. Oh yeah, it'd be really interesting if Warren did something like that. I mean, he's got the material. I mean, he's got a whole room.
He's definitely got the material. Yep.
So
and videos and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's awesome. Legend.
Are you gonna have much time to hunt this year? Because I know you just made a job change and everything.
I
got
did.
a lot going on.
So I went to work for a company, Stratton Seed Company out of Stuttgart, and we specialize in row crop ag and then wildlife specialty seeds. So pretty excited about that because now it's part of my job. I actually get to talk about hunting every day, and our sales force and everybody involved with Stratton are very passionate outdoorsmen. So it's been good so far. We will be pretty busy early fall with wildlife plots and stuff like that, and we also sell along with seed, we sell feed and deer attractants and all that. So obviously that's going to be pretty busy during hunting season, but I think I'm gonna find some time to hunt, Jacob. I think I'm gonna find some time to hunt between here and there. So yeah, we've got a pretty busy fall planned hunting wise. I was telling you, we got Kansas, we got McAllister drawn. I do know there's probably one other state that I'll hunt, public land. We got a big hunt planned on that, so it's gonna be a pretty busy fall. So I'm excited. And then in Arkansas, me and somebody were talking the other day. We're in July now, so now you guys know with your buddies, you're already talking about, well, did that deer show back up, or what you got now? Well, last year, me and Josh, the deer I killed, we were hunting him for 2 years hard, and I finally got him last year. And I don't really know of a single deer that I'm really ready to go out there and try to find, which I'm excited about because now it's just it's wide open. So, yeah, any 4-legged whitetail deer will be in trouble this fall for sure.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Also, just real quick, I want you to plug your YouTube channel, and because it sounds like you still get some videos you're working on.
Yeah, I'm actually working on a lot. I will have probably 5 to 6 new videos up this fall.
Okay,
and it's just Johnathan Moreland is my name on YouTube, and then I'm on Instagram and on Facebook. I took a little bit of a hiatus these last 3 or 4 months just to. I still hop on, but I didn't make any posts or anything. So I'm going to start posting some hunting stuff pretty soon. So, yeah, that's all of my social media platforms, I guess.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, appreciate you coming down here. I know we're all going to be at the World Deer Expo. This episode will come out after the expo, but it's going to be fun hanging out for a couple days. But appreciate everybody watching the podcast. Thank y'all for listening, and we'll catch you back here in the next episode from the Southern Outdoorsman. And remember, guys, y'all stay Southern.